These are Deskimon, or more specifically, Orbit and Sprout. Cute desk robots I built to be the perfect companion while working. And while they look pretty simple, it's actually quite a difficult challenge to create one of these. And as proof, when you Google desk robots, you either find really expensive, complicated robots, or a few homemade ones which actually look pretty good, but are hard to make or not available. So the main goal was to create these desktop robots, but accessible to everyone. So that means much cheaper. But before I go in more detail and explain how you can get one yourself, I actually want to talk about what I had to go through the past months to make one of these come to life. I've been thinking about making a desk companion robot like this for quite a while now. But my experience has always been the mechanical side of things, making 3D printable products, but not electronics or programming, which I was definitely going to need for a project like this. So I was at a loss and I gave up on the idea and put it on the shelf. Well, at least until 2 months ago, when I revealed to you guys my last project, the Master Control Disk, a literal computer disk to control your home. It was my greatest challenge yet, but I did it. I finally managed to get some experience with electronics and programming. So when it came to starting my next project, I finally felt ready to take on the Deskimon project. Let's have a look. The main concept is to create a desktop robot that is really accessible to everyone. So to do that, I set some ground rules. First of all, I want everybody to be able to make one and use them without a problem. So it shouldn't require any knowledge in engineering or programming. Unlike my last project, this one needs to be completely plug and play. And second, I want the body of the robots to be completely 3D printable. That way I can design multiple bodies and they can be completely modular and customizable for however you want them to look. Yeah, that's quite a challenge. I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to do this, but then I came up with the idea of using a not too expensive off-the-shelf screen with all the hardware built in. This way anyone can just order one online, upload my pre-built program, choose and print a body that they like or make one themselves, and they're good to go. So assuming all of that works out, the only thing left to do now was to come up with some names. I wanted the individual characters and bodies to have their own names, and I want a general name for all of them. So I took example from the Pocket Monsters playbook, also known as Pokemon, and decided to name them Deskimon. Okay, so now that we know what we need, let's get to work. Alright, so I've been doing a lot of research as to which screen would be best to use, so let's take a look at the options. So the choices we had were either one of these cheap LCD screens, but you have to add a lot of hardware yourself and do the soldering, electronics, and with my criteria of them being accessible, these are really not an option. Next, I thought of maybe using a Raspberry Pi Zero. These pack some additional power, which would make the programming easier, but again, they don't come with a screen pre-attached, so it's not truly plug and play. And also, they're pretty big, so I would have a pretty hard time fitting them in a 3D printed body. Eventually, I found this pre-built Waveshare screen with an ESP32 and a lot of additional hardware already attached. So let's take a look and see what it has. It comes with an AMOLED touchscreen, which should look really nice with the animated eyes on a true black background. It already comes with a speaker for sound. It also has a microphone, so maybe in the future if we want to talk to it, that would be a possibility. It has an extra programmable button. It also has a battery input and regulator, but since most people are going to use these at their desk, I think it's probably easier and a bit safer to just keep them plugged in. But luckily it also has USB-C. And for this project I want to stay offline, but it's even capable of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. And all of that for just 30 bucks and zero additional work. I think that's a pretty good deal. That would mean that even after getting the code and the bodies, it's still way cheaper than any other option. Nice. And just to be sure, I checked its availability and it's also internationally available on sites like Amazon with next day shipping. I really think we found a winner here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and order one. Alright, so we've got the screen, but before we can go ahead and install it and start the programming, we first need a body for the Deskimon. For my first design, I wanted to keep it somewhat simple, so inspired by little robots like Astrobot from PlayStation, I decided that the first ever Deskimon was going to be an astronaut named Orbit. Again, I want to focus on accessibility first, so I'm going to make the bodies completely 3D printable and also in one color. That way you don't need an AMS like this to print multiple colors at once, you can just go ahead with one spool of filament. On top of that, to keep it extra simple, I chose to go with plain white PLA, which perfectly fits the astronaut theme as well. Alright, let's have a look at the 3D model. Alright, so like always, we're gonna have a look at the CAD model in Fusion 360 and how it all came together. So right here, I've got the Orbit model open. As you can see, it looks pretty good, but let me show you how this all came to be. So first of all, let's just remove everything except for the touchscreen. So we've removed the bodies as well. All right, so this is the touchscreen. I made sure to get a 3D model of this from Waveshare, which is pretty neat. So I could work around that. From there, obviously, you start by creating the necessary bodies. So I actually started by making the front piece, so we could put the screen in there and make sure it fits pretty snugly. So as you can see, it has some tolerance, but it basically fits in there. Then the front screen has these pegs, which will fit in the back screen, or the back of the head. There we go. This is the back of the head. And also, something which I have modeled quite roughly here is if you take away the screen, you can see that there's a small speaker that comes with the screen. So I made a place in the back for the speaker to actually just fit right there. So you can see without speaker, and then you can see with the speaker. So that just fits right over there pretty neatly in this little space. And this should all be 3D printable as well. So obviously when I'm designing, I want to make sure that it's able to fit in an orientation on the printer, so it comes cleanly off the build plate, and it's not going to have any rough parts which are not able to print nicely. It is going to need supports, because this is just impossible to print without supports, but it won't be too much. Basically, we'll just probably release pretty simply, especially if you got a Bimolab printer, that's no problem at all. Yeah, so that's the back of the head. And then we obviously have the front of the head, which fits on there like this. And then the screen fits in the middle. And then, yeah, I just made some small eyes to represent how that goes. All right, so that's just the head, but we're also gonna need a body, which is going to look like this. Actually, don't mind the text orbit here too much, because that's in the final print as well. But like I said, we're gonna be printing with full white, so it's not gonna be that visible. If you do want to print multiple color, that's an option, and you can make it like black or any other color you like. So that's the head and the body. Then obviously the cable still needs to be able to go in, because we've got the body right here with the USB-C tag right there. So the cable goes through the back, through this hole right here, and then up top, but the cable isn't able to make this 90-degree turn. So I made this slot in the bottom so it can come out first and then go back up again. But I'll show you that when the print is done. All right, that's it. I'm pretty happy with this. So let's send it to the 3D printers and see how it goes. Alright, so it's done, and I think it looks pretty good. It wasn't perfect the first time, and it also wasn't the second time. If you want to come with me, I actually have a little bit of a Deskimon graveyard right here with some of them that unfortunately didn't make it, but we won't focus on that too much. We actually got the perfect result now. So as you can see, it looks really good. The printing has done a really nice job. Under the arms you have a little bit of the support, but I don't think it's too bad. And then you can see in the head the place for the speaker in the back. And it just all looks really nice. It's able to rotate, but it doesn't fall off by itself, which is good. So besides Orbit, I also went ahead and made a second character named Sprout, which is this one. So basically my girlfriend just wanted a cute plant-like character. So I made this little fella, which sits against a plant pot and has a little sprout on top. And again, this is all printed separately. So you don't need an AMS. You can actually just pull them apart like that, and then click them together. You can even get some different flowers for the pot if you want. I think in the future there's a lot more coming, maybe even instead of a pot like a backpack. I just want to experiment with this, see how good it goes, and maybe I can make some different bodies and some, yeah, I guess creative stuff. Alright, so there they are side by side, and I think the only thing we have to do now is see if the hardware fits. So let's take the screen and put it in the bodies. So we've got the two Deskimon bodies right here, but let's put them aside for a second. And let's focus on the little screen right here. So let's take it out of the package. We find the screen inside, and we also have the little speaker. So let's first have a look at the screen. Alright, so that's the screen. Let's pull this thing off, and there we go. That actually looks really nice. So let's put that down for a second and have a look at the little speaker. And as you can see, it's just a little small speaker module with an attachment that goes into the screen. So let's put those together. So right there on the screen where it says battery and speaker, you're gonna want to put this thing in the part where it said speaker. So as you can see, you just plug that in like that, and then you're pretty much good to go. All right, let's take Orbit and install the screen. All right, we take Orbit, we pull off his head, which is a little rough, and then we take it apart. Then I'm just gonna put the speaker in first. So we've got the speaker right here. I wanna make sure it's to the back. and just push that in the square right there. And that's just gonna stay like that and fit nicely. It's also not gonna fall out, as you can see. All right, then we've got the screen part. Align that USB, like I said, with the bottom, and then you just make sure the cable fits in the body, and you just put them together, like that. And that's it. So you take his body, you put it on the 3D print, and there we go. That fits really, really nicely. All right, so that's it, and that looks like one solid Deskimon. On the back you've got the hole for the cable to go through, on the bottom as well, and yeah, that looks really nicely. Let's do the Sprout one as well. All right, so we've got Sprout in his head as well, and then we can just put that on the body too. And as you can see, that looks really clean, so that's nice. Then we've got the separately printed leaf part right here, which we can just go ahead and fit on top of his head. And there you go, we've got Sprout in orbit with the screens installed. So the only thing holding us back right now is making it come to life with the program, and I can't imagine that being too hard. Alright, that might be a little dramatic, but let me try to explain why I feel this way. Remember when I said writing the program wouldn't be so hard because I've got some experience now? Oh boy, I was wrong. At this point, I spent weeks on this program trying to get like literally anything to run. First the screen wouldn't turn on, then it wouldn't rotate 90 degrees, then I had trouble getting the speaker working, then the mic, then the accelerometer. You get the point. And why was this so hard? Well, that's just because of one enemy: embedded software. Yeah, I'm still no expert, but let me try to explain. The short answer is embedded software is just a completely different world. When most people think of programming, they think of apps. You write some code, you click run, and if something goes wrong, you just add more memory, install a library, or let the computer deal with it. That's not what's happening here. With Deskimon, I'm programming on ESP32S3. And this thing isn't a computer, it's a microcontroller. That means no desktop operating system, no security net, and limited resources. I'm working with about 16 megabytes of storage, 8 megabytes of RAM, and a tiny processor that has to deal with everything. For comparison, my last project was the Raspberry Pi 5 and it had 1,000 times more RAM. Yeah. So what does embedded software actually mean? Embedded software is code that runs on one specific piece of hardware that exists only to control that hardware. It has to manage screens, sound, touch, sensors, timing and memory all at once, and it has no room for mistakes. If something doesn't fit in the memory, it simply doesn't run. If the timing is wrong, things break, and if you waste any resources, that's it. For an embedded software engineer, this might be a little bit dramatic, but for someone with no experience, this truly felt impossible. And the hardest part wasn't even writing the code, it was thinking differently. In embedded software, you don't ask, how can I make this look cool? No, you ask, can this even exist on this piece of hardware? Every feature is a trade-off, every animation costs memory, and every sound effect costs storage. And you're constantly balancing all of it. So yeah, it involved a lot of my head banging on the table, but eventually I got it working. I got a first version of Orbit, and from there the ball started rolling. In not too long I was able to finish Orbit and have a version that I am truly happy with. In the future I might want to push this hardware even further, but for now I present my Deskimon. Alright, so here they are, and the only thing left to do is show you guys the program. So to put in the cable, we take off his head, and like I said in the 3D model, the cable is not able to make that 90 degrees by itself, so we made this slot in the bottom. That way the cable can come out first, so that's like a straight line. You pull it a bit, and then you pull it back up to the top, and then just give it a small pull again, and there you go, now it fits through the body. So the head has a USB port right there, so you go ahead and plug that in, and because I've got the program already loaded, it's gonna turn on directly, and then you just put the head back on. And that is one finished Deskimon, which I think looks really good. Let's do Sprout as well. And there we go, Sprout is all connected as well. So now we've got two working Deskimon, and let me show you what they can do. So the program isn't too complicated. It has a few emotions which go by random. So right now he's asleep, but we can wake him up and he becomes happy. He also makes a little sound. And these emotions are randomly at certain intervals, but it did program to have a specific chance of happening. So he doesn't fall asleep every single time. Now he's sad. Again, we can wake him up. I did want them to be an addition to your desk and not too much of a distraction. So I did program them in a way that they only make sound whenever you touch him. So you can just pet him whenever you like and he gets happy. But if you don't like the sound at all, there is a settings screen with my logo. And you've got a brightness adjuster, so you can make them very bright or not as bright. And then of course a volume as well. If you don't like the sound, he doesn't make any sound right now. And if you do like the sound, you can just turn him up way loud and there you go. He also uses the accelerometer, so if you give him a little bit of a shake, he gets confused. And yeah, that's pretty much it. In the future, I might want to add some extra functionality, maybe where you can talk to him and he's able to give some basic answers. So definitely let me know what you want to see next in the comments. For now, it does what it's made for. It's accessible to everyone and it's way cheaper than any other option. Whenever you're working hard on something, it's easy to get caught up in the stress of things. So I built these Deskimon as a reminder that there's more fun in life than we sometimes realize, and to go and take a break once in a while. And after using them for weeks now, I can honestly say they're great at it. Mission succeeded. But what I also realized is that Orbit and Sprout might actually mean more to me than I thought. Where Orbit is supposed to be an astronaut, I too try to explore my limits, see how far I can go and what I can build. And well, Sprout would represent what my girlfriend means to me. She's down to earth, grounded, and she's always there for me if I need someone to talk to. So while I absolutely love these Deskimon, they're also a reminder that technology cannot replace real connections. Sometimes it's important to just put your work aside for a second and go spend some time with your loved ones. I'll see you later. Alright, just really quick, if you like the idea of owning one of these Deskimon yourself, go check out the link in the description. For now, Orbit and I want to thank you so much for watching. I'm just starting out, so please consider subscribing, and we'll see you next time. Bye!